Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Today I think is a pretty important topic to cover, something that's come up in the news, and so this video is pretty much just going to be this one topic. But I think man, when I first saw this, I was like, good gracious, how much more are we going to have to endure? How much more crazy, Big Brother, far, hard, progressive left are we going to have to deal with this administration and this new America that we live in? So I want to get with that here in just a minute. Before I get started, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button to the channel. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and do so. That way you can, get more updates on when I post new videos. Also, click that the thumbs up button. That really helps spread the word so that more people can see the videos and be part of our little online community, our little corner of YouTube. So what I want to talk about, and some of you may have seen this, but I bet probably not a whole lot, because it was one of those kind of things that they just, blip in the news and then it gets forgotten about. And this was a few days ago. And New York Times, CNN, I think Washington Post or New York Post, two or three news sources have covered it. But the Biden administration is mulling and considering using private contractors to basically spy on us. If you get into the article a little bit more, and I'll be honest with you, I did some digging and there's very little information out about this. This is just stuff coming from the White House and DHS that they are considering doing this. So this isn't something that has been definitely put into place yet, but there's certainly seems to be, just from the few little interviews, that there's people within the Biden administration that feels that this is a good idea. I did surprisingly notice that there were a few Democrats in Congress that were opposed to this because they were afraid of it just being too intrusive, getting out of control. So what they're talking about is, and let me back up just a minute. Let me back up. About a month and a half ago, and I did a video on this, the DOD, and we've all noticed over the past year the talk about, well, just patriotic individuals, people that are patriotic. Maybe you were a Trump supporter, maybe you're a constitutionalist, maybe you're a traditional biblical value kind of person, and it seems to be the language in the media and the language of politicians are starting to kind of label us like we're extremists, or to speak of us like we're extremists. They're putting us all in one big lump, us big old bag of deplorables. And that's a little scary when the government starts labeling a whole segment of its population that's opposing to the government extremists and violent extremists and all this kind of stuff. In fact, so much so that in March, the end of March, Politico did an article on the DOD releasing some new training materials where it labels the most dangerous people for the DOD, the most dangerous, the biggest danger that the DOD, the military, faces. It's not ISIS, it's not Al Qaeda, it's not all those other terrorist groups or Chinese or Russian or anything like that, but it's homegrown violent extremists. And at the top of that list, it listed political extremists or patriotic extremists. And in the patriotic extremist, I think I've got a screenshot of right here of what it's talking about. It's kind of vague, but it makes it sound like that anyone that supports the Constitution, anyone that dislikes how the government is handling, if they think that the current government has grown beyond its constitutional boundaries, and to be honest, if you do believe that, if you believe that the Constitution, that the government is working outside of its constitutional boundaries, then it basically invalidates its authority. And they're saying that, well, that's a problem. That makes you a threat. It also lists on this chart, and it does list like anarchists and Antifa type people, but it also lists religious extremists, people that are, extreme about being against abortion and stuff like that. So there's the labeling of that. Since then, very much because of the January 6th fiasco at the Capitol building, which I won't even get into that. Never mind. I was going to say something, but I'm going to choose to keep my mouth shut right now. they have been talking more and more about, and you've all heard it, these pro-Trump, constitutional, militia, you know, bad patriotic people. It's bad. We've all heard that, haven't you? And they're lumping together groups that probably really don't need to be lumped together. Three percenters and Proud Boys and Oath Keepers with people like neo-Nazis and stuff like that. Um, it's getting scary, and I know a lot of you are saying, yeah, but I don't belong to those groups. I'm not like that. I'm not that violent. I'm not that extreme. I just want to be left alone on my property. Again, if you listen to the language that they say, if you listen to, especially after the election in November, people like Ocasio-Cortez and other senators and congressmen on the left were flat out saying that, conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters and constitutional patriotic people needed to go through a re-education process before they were allowed back into society. Okay, so I've said all that to get to the main point of this video, which is the Biden administration, along with the DHS, and it appears that DHS is the one pushing this, is looking into hiring independent contractors, i.e., basically like military contractors and intelligent contractors, is what it appears to me. Now, they don't come right out and say it, at least in what I have found, but they're wanting private organizations, private companies, to take on the job of the government's intelligence committees and intelligence programs. And what they're going to do is they want to be monitoring you. They want to monitor your social media activity. They want to try to infiltrate groups. Maybe you have a prepper group. Maybe you have a group online. Whatever it is, maybe you're a part of a local militia. They want to take these private companies that apparently have experts in this, whether it's intelligence or military tactics, and most of these people are going to be ex-government officials, ex-government employees, and they're going to pay them, the government's going to contract with them to monitor and to spy on you, and very possibly at some point do some of the enforcement arm of it. We don't know yet. Again, this is very, in the beginning stages. There's not a lot of information. So I'm trying not to make too much speculation here. But it does, I believe, show just how far this government, not just this current administration, but this government is willing to go to keep its foothold, to further its agenda. It's like they're trying to form the brown shirts or something like that out of Nazi Germany. To what extent is this? It's interesting if you read in the articles, the New York Times and the CNN, I believe, articles. They were saying that the reason why they're wanting to do this is because they believe that these private entities could do things that the federal government couldn't do legally. And that's scary. And that's scary that they, instead of, they're saying that they don't want to have to go through Congress to establish new, surveillance laws and expand the surveillance laws and stuff. So, which I feel already are way too broad. Way too broad. Especially since 9/11, the surveillance capabilities of our government is just, I think, out there too far. But anyways, they're saying that they're not broad enough, and they don't want to go through the process of Congress of changing those laws and regulations. So instead, they're going to, circumvent the law by hiring these private entities to spy on American citizens, collect their data, figure out their movements, their motivations, infiltrate their organizations. Whether it's Hollywood or it's reality, but there's been a lot of examples of private contractors not really caring about your individual rights, and they take their job to the extreme. I could give examples of over in the Middle East with companies like Blackwater and others that don't really have that high caliber of a reputation because of the actions that they did. And here we're going to be hiring companies most likely like that kind of company to monitor you, to infiltrate your organizations, maybe your churches, your prepper groups, your homestead groups, your homeschool groups, because they're not just specifically talking about like a militia or Proud Boys or 3%ers. They're talking about people, if you really kind of look into the broad language that they're using, anyone that speaks out against this system, that speaks out against government, that speaks out against this new way that the government, this great reset, this build back better, all this kind of stuff, and I'm sure it will get to the point that it would be speaking out against, what we consider moral issues, maybe trans issues, gay issues, racial issues. I mean, we're already seeing this. There's a video, I don't know if you've seen it, I'm not going to show the whole video or anything, but there's a video over in the UK where there's this guy preaching out on the street. And in the video, it doesn't appear that he's doing anything inappropriate. I mean, he's talking and preaching and probably annoying to some people. But anyways, he was arrested because he was disturbing the peace by preaching. He was preaching against the sin that's going on. We're seeing people being arrested and fired because they're speaking out against, or not even speaking out, but they're saying something that doesn't fall in line with things like Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd whole thing, and transgender issues. So at what point do these private organizations that are contracted with the government also start spying on you and I because of those issues? That if you say anything that doesn't align with their systemic racism, all that kind of stuff, or that it doesn't align with the transgender issues and platform that they're pushing and all that kind of stuff. This is, of all the things that's happened over the last few months, I think this is one of the scariest. I think it has one of the one that has one of the greatest potentials to be the true beginning of the end. I'm not saying that it is, so don't get me wrong. Don't think that I'm already the sky is falling. I'm just saying that there is such potential here for this to be grown and grown and grown into something that's awful. Okay, to put it very simply, because if they're doing this to circumvent the law, okay, they've already admitted that they're wanting to do this to circumvent the law because the law is too restrictive on spying, then that must mean that there's basically no barriers for them to just kind of do what they want, to kind of grow. I mean, they do talk a little bit in the article about, well, they still kind of have to work within the law, but we're doing this because we can't work within the law already, and these guys will help circumvent us. It's this double speak kind of stuff. Again, even though I know a lot of you, I know a lot of you, say the vast majority of you listeners are going to probably think, well, it's a good thing that I'm not part of those kind of groups. It's a good thing I'm not in those kind of message boards, and I don't go to those kind of meetings. Well, you watch this channel, and I would almost bet the majority of you that watch this channel on a regular basis are on some internet platform, some internet, program that would be considered patriotic extremist. Whether it's Twitter or Facebook or, Parler or Gab, or, just random message boards and stuff, or just other YouTube channels. This is Pandora's Box that's being opened if they follow through with this. I mean, look at what China is doing. China now has an app, and they have the social credit scores where they monitor everything. They have to actually have facial recognition cameras at dumpsters, and they scan your trash. Not every dumpster maybe, but I do know for a fact I've seen several of the dumpsters, like at big apartment complexes and stuff. They facial recognition cameras, and they scan your trash as you throw it in there, so they know exactly what you've consumed. That's how intrusive they are. Well, now they have this app that they're probably requiring it. I don't know for certain, but who knows? If not, I'm sure it's greatly encouraged. And it's basically where you can spy on other citizens, and you can report where they're misinformed. I love how they put it. Well, my neighbor is misinformed with their politics. The information that they told me that they believe, it's incorrect. So I want to report this to the government. How much longer do we have that kind of stuff here? I mean, the technology exists. It's not that big a deal to just release an app like that here in the United States. And maybe there already is, I don't know, but I haven't been aware of it, where you can report your neighbors, your friends, your family to your government. I mean, they're already doing this with red flag gun laws, which are absolutely horribly unconstitutional and ridiculous and extremely invasive, where, basically all you have to do is say, yeah, my cousin, he owns some guns and he's a little off in the head, I think, sometimes. And I think he takes some like medications and he says some crazy stuff. And I really don't think he should own guns. And boom, they go and they take the guns. And then the owner himself has to prove in court that he is, sane enough, or that he's, fit to own these firearms, even though he's never committed any crime or anything like that. This is Big Brother on speed, folks. 1984, Brave New World. Can go on and on with books and movies and stuff on this kind of dystopian Big Brother nightmare. And we've joked about it for years, and we've warned about it for years, and we've complained about it for years, and yet now here it is. It's happening right now. And where are the voices in the dark? Where are the people speaking out against, things like the Patriot Act and the Federal Reserve and stuff that a lot of us remember, and were involved in, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And now the real Big Brother is here. No one's speaking out against it. No one's really talking about it. Everyone's terrified. They're terrified of the Big Brother to speak out against it. And here we are, very possibly going to be hiring independent private contractors to spy on you. And down the road, who knows? Maybe enforce the spying, enforce laws, enforce not just laws, but enforce the social ways on you. Oh, you don't have quite the same standard that we do, and we need to make sure that you're educated and re-educated so that you toe the political party line. Sounds very similar to things that I've learned that's happened in history. And it's very frightening that that's happening here on U.S. soil right now. And so many people, what's even more frightening is so many people are okay on it. Last thing, the video that I mentioned of the preacher in England, I understand it's England, but still, that was arrested for preaching. The comments on that video, I went through and I read numerous comments, and it blew me away how many people thought this was a good idea. Most of them, you know what, the vast majority, in my opinion, of just kind of keeping track of what people said, yeah, these guys are really annoying, and I just want to walk through the city streets in peace, and so that's what we should do. That we should arrest these people because they're disturbing my peace. I just want to walk down the street and not have to hear people. And that's worthy of imprisoning someone, taking their rights away, locking them up, ruining their lives potentially, just because you don't feel, comfortable with it. And that's where we've become, is that, laws are based on how it makes me feel. Well, then, who's the standard of that? That, you see, it just keeps going and going. Well, and then, of course, it's only the left's standard. They don't care about how you feel. You're some crazy political, patriotic extremist, right? Anyways, how do you prepare for this? I usually try to bring that around. I don't really know. I'm just telling you. You need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of the stuff that they're trying to do, cram down our throats, into our lives, and I'm telling you that we don't live in the same America that we once did. I don't know if any of you haven't awoken to that reality, but it's true. We no longer live in the same America we once did, and you need to be preparing, and you need to be getting yourselves ready mentally, physically, and spiritually for whatever will happen, because things are happening and they will continue to change and evolve and most likely get worse, because you cannot continue down this path without it getting worse. I mean, it's just simple. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.